Thank you, Special Agent Eddie Wang and Sergeant Jeff Walker, for such impactful words and insight into the realities of human trafficking. And thank you both so much for your service. Our next speaker, Ms. Ramsha Shafa, is a singer, women's rights activist, psychologist, and has worked with the United States military since 2009 as a linguist, language instructor, and cultural advisor. As a child bride from Afghanistan, she has overcome a plethora of life's challenges. We are honored to have her here this evening and to be able to bear witness to her story of struggle, triumph, and divine intervention. Please help me welcome Dr. Shafa.
Thank you for the introduction. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ramsha Shafa, and I was born in Kandahar, Afghanistan. I was 2 years of age when a group of Taliban officials kidnapped and killed my parents on suspicion of collaborating with the United Nations and setting up underground schools for girls. After the execution of my parents, I was taken in and cared for by a distant relative, and at the age of 12, due to a financial crisis, I was forcibly married, or should I say, sold to an aged Afghan man involved in poppy planting and the trafficking of opium. In addition to his 2 wives and I, he was still considering marrying other underage girls in Afghanistan as he grew his business. I became a mother at the age of 13 to a beautiful daughter who is currently working and studying in the medical field at UCLA. I consider myself extremely lucky for being rescued at the right time by one of the childhood friends and a combat buddies of my deceased father, who had incidentally learned about my existence and my then situation as a child bride. And shortly after, my escape with my daughter from Kandahar to Kabul was arranged. Between escaping from Kandahar to Kabul and making my way to the United States of America was a pretty long journey, but I'll try to keep it as short as possible. After many struggles in Kabul, I was granted a visa to the United States. However, that opportunity came with a great sacrifice, and that was to leave my daughter to the same family who had helped me flee to Kabul and travel to America. In America, without applying for asylum, I began exploring options for rescuing my daughter from Afghanistan. And after 2 long years of doing everything I knew about the legal system of immigration, I was still unable to reunite with my daughter in the United States. So in 2009, I took a risk and returned to Afghanistan as an interpreter for the United States military, assigned to working side by side primarily for Marine Special Forces and NATO. Not in my worst nightmares had I ever thought that there could be a worse situation than being enslaved by an aged Afghan drug dealer with 3 wives and 6 children, until I was present at the most heavily contested fronts of the war for 3 consecutive years, including Operation Mushtarak, the Battle of Marja, where the main focus of the offensive was the town of Marja, which had been controlled for years by the Taliban as well as the drug traffickers. It was by far the most deadliest season of the 20-year war in Afghanistan, which fortunately I survived from February 13, 2010 to December 7, 2010. And even to this day, I still feel as if that was for the very first time I was exposed to the real war-torn Afghanistan and its devastated people. However, I continued fighting while in separation from my daughter for 6 years at this point. And when the wind of life and fate blew me to Okinawa, Japan, only then it became possible. And in May of 2012, I was able to welcome a beautiful 7-year-old, I was then able to welcome a beautiful 7-year-old girl back into my life, who did not recognize me as her mother. We lived 3 incredible years in Okinawa while I worked and studied amongst the most generous people of Japan. While in Japan, I discovered my true passion for music, and I entered the Afghan music industry in 2015. And ever since, I've volunteered for many tours, and I've also worked on several artistic projects supporting women's rights in Afghanistan, as well as raising awareness on the rapidly growing but nerve-wracking issue of child marriage in Afghanistan. If you've heard of the 2021 airlift, I was involved in evacuating and resettling at-risk Afghans following the shocking tragedy of the Taliban takeover of Afghanistan. And I'm still currently working and assisting newly arrived Afghans dealing with psychological issues as well as those facing criminal charges. And that is not the entire journey. There's a lot more to it. However, due to shortage of time today, I would like to leave it at that. And if there's one message I could give out to the brave women of Iran and Afghanistan, based on my personal experience, would be to never lose hope. Stand up for your rights and fight till the end. Women, life, freedom. Zan, Zindagi, Azadi. Thank you very much for listening.